Welcome to Tongueless, the bard's recitals of some of Tamriel's greatest adventures. This is the main quest of Skyrim, Chapter 2, Before the Storm. The world beyond Helgen felt too large, too bright, after the darkness of the keep. Stenvir and Ralof emerged from the tree line onto the south road, the morning sun spilling gold across Falkreath's wilds. Pines rose like spears to either side, their boughs whispering in the cool wind. The scent of sap and wet earth hung heavy. Ralof strode ahead, favouring one leg slightly but refusing to slow. "My sister, Gerdur, you'll like her," he said over his shoulder. "Stubborn as winter ice, but she's got a good heart. She'll help us. You speak as though she owes you nothing." Stenvir smiled. Ralof huffed a half-laugh. "If anyone in this world owes me less, I haven't met them." Birdsong trickled across the underbrush as they followed the winding path northward. The mountains brooded far in the distance, dark, ancient, and impossibly still. Somewhere beyond them, a dragon carried fire in its gut and ruin in its wings. Stenvir felt its shadow still lingering on his skin. They travelled in silence for a time, the Falkreath forests thinning as the sound of rushing water grew louder. Then, rounding a bend, the valley opened before them like the unfolding of a grand tapestry. Nestled between the emerald sweep of the forest and the sheer stone shoulder of the mountain, the village of Riverwood clung to the banks of the White River like a jewel set in silver. Smoke curled lazily from chimney-tops. Water wheels churned steadily in the river's bright current. Timbered houses, strong and simple, lined the riverbank, their thatched roofs glistening with melted frost. Ralof slowed, a softness washing over his features. "Home," he murmured. Children laughed by the mill. Iron hissed at the blacksmith's forge. Chickens darted between crates and barrels as though the world had not changed, as though fire had not fallen from the sky less than an hour's march away. To Stenvir, Riverwood looked like a place that believed in peace, because it had never truly known war. Ralof guided him across the bridge and up the lane toward a sturdy lumber building nestled beneath a tall pine. "That's her house," he said. His voice held hope for the first time since Helgen. "Whatever you do, don't harm the chickens." Gerda saw them before they reached the porch. Broad-shouldered, her strength was honed not in battle, but through years hauling timber. Honey-brown hair braided from a face, weathered by wind and labour, her eyes held a calm, steady warmth that eased the nerves of anyone who met her gaze. "Ralof," she breathed, eyes widening as she saw them. "By the gods, what's happened? We heard nothing. But Helgen's smoke." She glanced past him at Stenvir. "Who's this?" "A friend," Ralof said. "One who saved my hide more times than I'd like to admit." "I was simply returning the favour," Stenvir said. Gerda studied him with the keen judgment of someone who had seen liars and woodsmen alike. Then her expression softened. "Any friend of Ralof's is welcome under my roof." "Hod," she called toward the back. "Fetch water. This one looks half frozen." Hod lumbered into view, a mountain of a man with a beard like a poorly maintained hedge. "By shore, boy. You look like you wrestled a snowstorm." "Something worse," Stenvir said. Gerda placed a firm hand on his arm. "Come inside. You need warm food and warmer company." But after settling them, and hearing only the first breaths of their tale, she shook her head sharply. "No. Supplies first. This tale can wait. Your stomachs cannot. Go to the trader. Lucan will help, if it's all the same with you," Ralof wheezed. "I've made it down from Helgen. Yet I doubt my leg will make it to the trader." "Then I shall take Stenvir," Gerda said. "Then we'll hear everything." The Riverwood trader stood at the heart of the village like a proud, stubborn cornerstone. Its sign swung gently overhead, creaking in the breeze. However, as Stenvir and Gerdur approached, raised voices drifted out, sharp, heated. "You want to march up to Bleak Falls Barrow by yourself?" A woman snapped. "Lucan, it's madness." "Madness," a man retorted. "Camilla, I've been to that watchtower more times than I can count. Bleak Falls is little more than a pile of old stones, and full of bandits who killed men stronger than you." Gerda sighed and pushed the door open. Inside, Lucan and Camilla Valerius, brother and sister, stood nose to nose behind the counter. Lucan, red-faced and gesticulating with wild authority, froze when he noticed the two of them entering. Camilla crossed her arms, equally indignant, but with far more grace in her exasperation. "Ah, customers," Lucan said, clearing his throat. "My apologies. Just a family discussion." "That's a generous word for it," Camilla muttered. Gerda stepped forward. "Lucan, we need supplies, food, clothing, whatever you can spare. They've had a mourning, gods," Camilla said, seeing Stenvir's face. "What in the world has happened?" "Helgen is gone." The bickering died instantly. "Gone? What do you mean, gone?" Camilla asked. "A dragon," Stenvir said. The word felt strange, heavy, as though it should not belong in the tongue of a living man. "What?" Gerda raised her eyebrows, for they had not yet disclosed the full tale. Stenvir nodded. A great black beast descended on the keep. "Fire, destruction. I doubt. Anything survived." Lucan stared, colour draining from his cheeks. "A dragon. By the 8, I saw the smoke." Gerda faltered. "I had no idea." Lucan ran a trembling hand through his hair. "If there really is a dragon in this corner of the world, then Whiterun must be warned. Jarl Balgruf will want to know immediately. He'll want to know more than that," Camilla said quietly. "Tell him about the claw." "No," she insisted. "If dragons have returned, then strange things are stirring. That claw wasn't stolen by chance, brother." Stenvir glanced between them. "Claw?" Lucan sighed heavily. "The golden claw. A curious artifact, ornate, ancient, the only thing the bandits took, though there were items thrice its value beside it." "Bandits?" Stenvir asked. "Up in Bleak Falls Barrow," Camilla replied. "Word is they've made a den of the old ruins, which is why Lucan said loudly, going up there to fetch it is entirely possible." "And only mostly suicidal," Camilla countered. "Look," Lucan said, gesturing out of the window. "You can just see the spires atop the mountain." Stenvir followed his gaze. High across the valley on distant mountains, dark architecture stood jagged and ominous. Brooding, silent, watching. A chill ran down his spine. Gerda placed her hand on his shoulder. "Stenvir, take what Lucan offers. Then go to Whiterun. Tell the Jarl what happened at Helgen. If dragons walk the skies again, Skyrim must be ready. But what of Roloff? He needs rest now. As for that matter, so must you." No, Stenvir held out a hand. "I'm fine. Besides, this is urgent business. I must go." Lucan nodded, still pale. "Yes. The sooner the Jarl knows, the better. Gods help us all if this is only the beginning." Stenvir crossed the river, at Riverwood's southern bridge, the timber creaking beneath his boots as Kinnereth-blessed waters rushed beneath. Light spilled across the valley, washing frost from the pines and painting the stones in soft amber. Behind him, the village kept moving. Axes striking wood, hens fussing in coops, the distant chatter of Gerda's household, already retelling the tale of Helgen's ruin. The path ahead hugged the mountainside, winding upward through a stretch the locals called Wolf Country. Lucan had warned him more than once they hunt in packs, clever as thieves, but the glades lay silent. No growls from the underbrush, no gleam of hungry eyes. Only the whisper of wind threading through the branches, as if even the wolves sensed some greater predator had taken to the sky. The trails steepened, and the pines thinned. Stenvir stepped onto a rocky outcrop and found, laid before him, the hold of Whiterun. It basked in sunlight at the heart of the plains, a golden sweep of grassland broken by winding waterways that glittered like silver serpents. The White River carved its way around the city's outer wall, feeding irrigation trenches that spread into the earth like veins of life. Farms clung to those banks in orderly rows, wheat bending to the breeze, cabbages swelling in neat plots, horses grazing in soft, cloud-like herds. And Whiterun itself, the city in the centre of the plains, rose in its great lofty districts. Longhouses, smithies, and market stalls clustered behind timber palisades. Stone steps climbed toward the noble manors perched above the bustle like contented lords, and higher still, at the city's pinnacle, gleaming as though carved from the sky itself, stood Dragonsreach. Stenvir had never seen it before, but he had no doubt it was the infamous palace. He took a breath that tasted of pine sap and thawing snow, then set off down the mountain path. Waterfalls greeted him as he descended, thin veils pouring over dark stone, catching rainbows in their spray. The air was cooler, fresher, each step bringing him closer to the pulse of the plains. Soon, the scattered farms of Whiterun Hold surrounded him, their thatched roofs bright against golden fields. Workers moved among the crops, driving oxen or hauling bundles of freshly cut reeds. The road bent toward gentler ground, and soon the stables and sentry gates loomed before the town battlements. Beyond them, the city itself stood proudly on its hill, sunlit stone catching the morning like a crown. Stenvir passed the weather-beaten stable-hand, who watched him with wary curiosity. He was a stranger here, a stranger with a sword. As he climbed the switchback path, a drawbridge stretched before him, but before he could cross it, a guard descended the stairs of the left tower, spear levelled. "Halt!" the guard barked, boots clattering on the stone. "Whiterun is closed by order of the Jarl. No one enters, not with the news of dragons stirring." Stenvir kept his hands visible, his voice steady. "I come from Riverwood." And before that, Helgen, the guard recoiled a step. "A dragon destroyed Helgen this morning. If you bar your gates now, the next fire may fall on your own mead halls. You were at Helgen, by the 9. Very well." He signalled to the battlements. "Open the gate." The heavy doors groaned as they parted, spilling warm lamplight and the scent of hearth fires into the morning air. "Go on in," the guard said, "but mind yourself. People are frightened enough without tales of burning cities." Stenvir nodded and stepped inside. Despite the circumstances, Whiterun was as bustling as Stenvir had imagined. Timbered houses, bright banners, and smithing forges clustered along the rising street. Merchants hawked wares, despite the tension crackling in the air. Children dashed past with sticks in hand, playing at warriors even while their mothers called them back to safety. At the heart of the square, the Gildergreen, ancient and wilting, spread its branches over a shrine. The breeze carried the clang of metal from war maidens, the murmur of worship from the temple of Kinnereth, and the earthy smell of straw from the stables far below. Stenvir climbed the wide steps toward the cloud district, where the houses grew grander and the air carried the faint tang of incense. Dragonsreach dominated the skyline, a palace perched upon its stone precipice, shaped like the rib-cage of some old sea monster hauled ashore. Golden afternoon light bathed its carved beams. If anywhere upon the material plane resembled Sovngarde, it was here. Two guards shifted as Stenvir approached, but neither moved to stop him. News travelled quickly here, quicker than foot, it seemed. Inside, the hall was vast, pillars like tall pines, a roaring hearth running the length of the chamber, and tapestries painted with Whiterun's history fluttering in the rising heat. At the far end upon the wooden dais sat Jarl Balgruf the Greater, deep in conversation with his steward. Stenvir took 3 steps forward, before a shadow moved. A Dunmer woman intercepted him in a flash, her enchanted steel blade unfurling from its scabbard. She stepped into his path, as if materialized from the smoke of the great hearth. "Hold," she commanded. "State your business with the Jarl. No further." Stenvir lifted his hands slowly. "Riverwood sent me. Helgen. Helgen is gone. A dragon destroyed it." A silence fell. Even the crackle of the fire seemed to soften. Irilith's blade did not lower, but her gaze softened, tension layered with understanding. "Jarl Balgruf," she said without looking away, "you'll want to hear this." The Jarl rose from his throne, broad-shouldered, crowned with the wisdom of many battles, his expression that of a man already carrying too many burdens. "A dragon," he said as he descended the steps. "Tell me." From the beginning, Stenvir recounted the smoke, the fire, the screams, and the black-winged terror that had fallen upon Helgen. He had retold this story many times since the events only hours earlier, yet Balgruf listened without interruption, jaw tightening with each detail. When Stenvir finished, the Jarl exhaled slowly. "If this is true," he murmured, "then Whiterun is in greater danger than I thought." He turned to Irilith. "Send a detachment of guards to Riverwood at once. They must be protected." "It shall be done," she said, sliding her sword into its sheath before striding away. Balgruf addressed Stenvir. "You've done Whiterun a service. You'll be rewarded. But more importantly, I need your help again." He gestured toward a side door near the back. "The court wizard," he added. "Farengar will want to hear what you've witnessed. He's been studying these stories of dragons." The wizard's quarters lay adjacent to the main hall, vaulted like a sanctuary of arcane thought. Shelves spiraled upward toward the rafters, crammed with tomes bound in cracked leather and dragonhide. Strange devices of Dwemer brass ticked and hummed, gears moving without touch, spheres turning in perpetual orbits. Scrolls floated above a desk in currents of invisible magic, drifting like gentle spectres. At the center, an alchemical apparatus glowed with pale green luminescence, bubbling with secrets not meant for common ears. Farengar, secret fire, hunched over a table strewn with maps of Skyrim. His dark hair fell in untidy strands, and his eyes, when lifted, shone with hungry curiosity. "So," Farengar said eagerly, "you're the one who survived Helgen." Balgruf folded his arms. "Tell him what you told me," Stenvir did. With every detail, the roar, the fire, the shattering stone, Farengar's excitement only grew. "Remarkable," the wizard said when Stenvir had finished. "Terrifying, but remarkable." He swept aside a stack of scrolls. "Your arrival is impeccable. I have need of one with courage and urgency. There is an artifact, an ancient tablet known as the Dragonstone. It lies within Bleak Falls Barrow. I believe it contains a map. Not just any map, but one marking the burial mounds of Skyrim's dragons." Stenvir raised a brow. "Burial mounds? You expect the dead to trouble us?" Farengar's smile was thin and humorless. "Dead things do not rise on their own. Something is stirring them. Something older than these holdfasts, older than our empire's memory." He plucked a brittle tome from a towering bookcase. Its pages whispered like dying leaves. "This Dragonstone will tell us where the ancient beasts were laid to rest, if they are waking." His eyes flicked to Stenvir. "We must know where the next one may claw its way from the earth." Balgruf placed a hand on Stenvir's shoulder. "Riverwood is in danger. If this helps us prepare, helps defend my people, then I ask it of you, as your Jarl." Farengar clasped his hands hungrily. "Find Bleak Falls Barrow. descend into its depths. Bring me the Dragonstone, and we may yet survive whatever doom has awakened. Stenvir felt the weight of their eyes upon him. Very well, he said. I'll bring you your map. Plans were made, provisions arranged, and Stenvir prepared to spend the night in Dragonsreach, but his mind was elsewhere. The Helgen disaster had not been an ending. It was the beginning of a storm.